So I wanted to introduce myself real quick. I'm the director of sales for PoEWit. So I've been on PoEWit for the last 2.5 years, working with Vic and Dushan. I worked with them during the Pack Edge days as well, and then the Control 4 days, and then the Snap days. So I went along that journey, and then Vic and Dushan offered me to come on board with PoEWit. So I've been with them for the last 2.5 years, and it's been a great ride. So I wanted to introduce myself. I'll let Vic introduce himself. He's on the call. And then I'll let Giselle Caceres, who's our Director of Marketing, introduce herself, and then we'll get into the presentation. Go ahead, Vic.
Hi. My name is Victor Pack, and I think a lot of you know me, just like I know a lot of you. So as Joseph said, I was a co-founder at Pack Edge, and we rode Pack Edge until 2016. Where we started the whole enterprise networking space for this channel. And Dushan Yankov and myself, we started PoEWit back in 2019 to utilize PoE for the next generation of products and also the next generation of networks. So I'm really happy all of you could join us and giving us your time.
Thank you. And then we have Giselle Caceres, who's our Director of Marketing. I will let her introduce herself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Giselle Caceres. I am the Marketing Director for PoEWit. I've been with PoEWit for about 4 years now. I have experience in marketing, graphics, web, and social media. So I handle all of that for PoEWit. Before we begin, I wanted to take a quick poll. So if everybody could please type into the comment box, how did you hear about this training or this webinar today? That would be great, whether it was from your man rep, from Joseph himself, or through Instagram. We'd really love to know how you heard about it. And yeah, that's it. Joseph, take it away.
Awesome. Thanks, Giselle. We also have Mike Jones. He's our main network engineer. He's on the call as well. If he wants to introduce himself real quick, I can unmute him. And he can just introduce himself, and then I can get into the presentation.
Hi, I'm Mike Jones, network engineer. I've been a network engineer for many years. So I will be also the main support person that manages support. And we will be here to assist you with any issues that you have from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Monday through Friday. So the best way to do that is to send a ticket or send a voicemail, call in and leave us a voicemail. And as soon as we have a support agent that's available and ready, we'll go ahead and get back to you. My qualifications as a network engineer include setting up businesses for enterprise businesses across the United States, even in other countries, and offices that include other countries and offices in the United States, and linking them together. My certifications include a CCNA, A+, so I'm very familiar with networking. I started in troubleshooting and tech support. In every network, you actually do have to troubleshoot at some point, so I'm very proficient at that. So I go ahead and send any of your questions, and I'd be glad to address those.
Thanks, Mike. Great. I am going to share my screen real quick. If you guys can put in the chat one if you when you see my screen. Okay, great. Okay, so I'm going to start the presentation. Like I said, all questions just put in the chat. Giselle will be happy to answer those, or Mike. During the presentation. I'll key in Vic in certain places on the presentation and talk a little bit more about the company and our mission and about the product. So I'll start right now. So we are PoEWit. We've had people call it PoEWit, but the official pronunciation is PoEWit. So we are power over Ethernet devices. So our history is pretty rich in the CD industry. Like I said, I worked with Vic and Dushan in 2014, right before they sold to Control 4. You know, we've been in the industry for over 20 years. You know, a #1 networking brand from 2010 to 2016. You know, Vic and Dushan have a lot of experience in this industry and have created a lot of innovation. As you can see right here, we went from package, device, and software to PoEWit. So, you know, you know, our networking brand is strong. We've had a lot of success in the field. You know, we've developed a lot of products. Our main mission is to give our dealers the best possible products on the networking and lighting side with as much power and innovation. Vic, did you want to talk about the transition from package to PoEWit?
Sure, I'll say a little bit, and then so we could, you know, get to the training part. But you know, basically, we all saw a big future and opportunity with Power over Ethernet, and you know, just shortly after, you know, package sold, you know, Dushan actually left Control 4 right away, moved to South Florida, and started building a home where he wanted to do majority of electrical and networking using PoE. So that's where he kind of went crazy. You know, doing lighting with PoE, curtains, you know, building out TV sets even. And what's really efficient about PoE is DC power, which you know, all of you guys are very skilled at. So it's also very safe, but more importantly, it provides Ethernet, so it enables 4 devices to be smart. So we saw a big opportunity with that, and from there, you know, that's how we started this company, is to start productizing a lot of the products and, you know, bring it to all of you, where, you know, we see this as a next chapter and a huge innovation improvement, but also as a big revenue opportunity for all of us, you know, including you guys, to offer a new product set. So.
Thanks, Vic. So why PoEWit? Like I said, we are the founders of PackEdge. Vic and Dushan pioneered the networking category. We had about, you know, over 2,000 dealers in North America, sold, you know, products in 50 countries. You know, we had the first enterprise grade networking product for high-end residential markets, the first high-powered AP and ceiling AP, first AV switches with blue LEDs, back-facing cables, and AV housing. First AVB products, predefined VLANs, and the first to go into the cloud for monitoring the home with Backpack. And like I said, we were the #1 networking brand in the CE Pro from 2010 to 2016. And you know, PoEWit's not investor funded or controlled. I mean, we you know, are, you know, fully private, and you know, we are 1,000% for the dealers. So our complete enterprise solution, we'll be focusing more on the access points for this presentation, but I wanted to show you, you know, we offer the complete enterprise solution from we partnered with Fortinet back in May. We have high enterprise, high power PoE switches from a 48 port to an 8 port. And then we have our access point from the WAP2, WAP1, the WAP2O, and the WAP2E. So like I said, we're at PoEWit, we're a true enterprise manufacturer. You know, we have the access points that have the Qualcomm chipset, and then the highest grade chipset that yeah, Ruckus uses the same chipset in all their access points. So we wanted to give the best quality in performance in our chipsets. In our access points, our switches, we use the Broadcom chipset for all our layer 3 switches. And then we have UPSs that you can use as battery backup for our networking devices and our lighting devices. So PoEWit versus enterprise players, like I said in the beginning, we're 1,000% committed to the PoEWit dealer. We don't work with distributors. We're dealer direct. So we want to make sure that, you know, the products that you're purchasing from us are the top quality. You're making the most money off of them. We offer 50-point margins on all our products, and that really helps us give to the PoEWit dealer the best possible products and really just give them the best chipsets within our devices. So we'll get into our access points. So the first one I want to talk about is our WAP1. Our WAP1 is an 8x8 high density wireless access point Wi-Fi 6. This runs on 40 watts of PoE, stadium grade. Does a little bit over 1,000 simultaneous clients. We see a lot of dealers in South Florida, the New York area, the Northeast, and California using this access point for just commercial sites, residential projects where they have a lot of wireless clients, or they just simply want the best wireless access point on their site. So this has been a really popular access point. We've had this product out for a little over a year, and it's quickly become our best-selling access point. Our WAP2O, so again, the WAP2O, so this is an IP67 rated access point, Wi-Fi 6, 2x2, has a built-in heater inside. We've seen a lot of dealers who are near bodies of water that have been installing this access point with a lot of success. It's a really rugged access point. If you're looking for an access point that can withstand the weather and provide optimal wireless performance, this is definitely the access point. It does a little bit over 500 simultaneous clients. This runs on 40 watts of PoE. So it's, let me see if I have the product right here. I have one of the access points. So this is the WAP2O right here. So you can see right here in the bottom. So yeah, this is heavy duty housing. So when you pick it up, it's definitely heavy duty versus some of the other manufacturers out there where you pick it up and it's just plastic. So like I said, if you're doing projects where you're by a body of water, or just have some harsh weather, this is definitely the outdoor access point you want to use. And then we released the WAP2, or excuse me, the WAP2. This is our Wi-Fi 6 2x2 enterprise access point. Supports a little bit over 500 simultaneous clients. We released this access point this past May, and this access point has become super popular. This access point is more for your small to medium-sized residential projects. Runs on PoE Plus. So it doesn't need the full 40 watts on the other two access points. So this is quickly become our second best access point, selling access point. It'll probably be our #1 by the end of this year. Just a really great access point for, like I said, a medium-sized project where you're looking for, Wi-Fi 6 performance and just the best chipset inside. So all our access points are configured through the cloud. So this is a screenshot of our free PoEWit app. One of the big benefits with our access points versus Ruckus is we don't charge for any licensing fees or any subscription fees on top of configuring the access points. So this is what it looks like in our free PoEWit app. It's super easy. You just discover the access points on the app. You can set the radios, SSIDs, look at connections, LEDs you can turn off and on. So the first access point you set up is meant to set as the controller, so that access point will push the configurations to the rest of the access points. So, our philosophy really was to make sure, setup is just super easy and straightforward and simple. We didn't want, our dealers having to go to a class or having to learn something really complicated with a controller or just buying an extra piece of equipment. We just wanted to make it really straightforward. So all our access points, the app is what shows up. So pricing for our access points. So this is MSRP. We offer 50-point margins on all our access points. So the WAP1 is $690 dealer cost. The WAP2O is $630 dealer cost. The WAP2 is $275 dealer cost. And the WAP2E, which we just released last month, and it's become really popular with the tri-band as a 2.4, 5.0, and a 6.0 tri-band. That is $395 dealer cost. Vic, I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk a little bit more about the WAP2E.
Yeah, well, just real quick. So, we try to do around the whole wireless space. It has come a long way since the whole enterprise chipsets, and from the Broadcom chipsets, all the way to the Theros, which is acquired by Qualcomm. I'm not sure if you guys know the whole history, but since it all started, Qualcomm has been the eminent player in the enterprise space. And so they supply pretty much chipsets for all the big enterprise players: Aruba, Enterprise, Ruckus, Cambium, which is kind of like the Cadillac out there. And so, and also the firmware that comes along with it. I mean, most of the manufacturers now, we don't play with the RF radio because Qualcomm tunes it, and they could tune it the best. So all the innovations that happened, that like band steering, transformation of wireless, roaming, is all pretty much in the chipset now. So just one comment I do want to make, and I'm not sure if Joey's going to get into it, but the WAP1 had the same chipset as the Ruckus R850. So if you look at it spec for spec, it's identical. And if you look at our MSRP, and oh yeah, here we go. Well, sorry, Joey, I jumped the gun.
Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so just basically the WAP1 is the same chipset as a Ruckus 850. And so obviously, as Joey said, we don't go through all the tiers of distribution, and that's why we could be out there much less than what you guys could get Ruckus through all the different middlemen. And there are no annual expenses that you got to pay into it for firmware and whatnot. The WAP2O, our outdoor, is the same thing as the Ruckus T350, except what we have also is a built-in heater for any kind of extreme areas. And as you could, compare our price points, it's much lower as well. The WAP2 goes head to head with the R550. Again, it's the same chipset. It's identical. We support the same amount of clients. And then, as Joey mentioned, the WAP2E, which is the first entrance in the 6.0 spectrum, which is actually becoming, we're getting some incredible throughputs if your end client could support the 6.0 spectrum. And that goes head to head with the Ruckus 560, which is an amazing discount that we offer compared to what the Ruckus is, because there's not a lot of guys out there with the 6C. And so, as Snap, they're not even thinking about it. They have different priorities. They just released Wi-Fi 6E, which if we were still back in the package days, we would have had it 3 years ago, at the same time that Ruckus, released their products as well. So that's kind of feedback that we're getting. A lot of folks that use these products have done a lot of installations with them. They're really glad that we're back in the space, offering an alternative. So.
Thanks, Vic. Yeah, so as Vic was mentioning, our WAP1 compares to the Ruckus R850. So again, we use the same Qualcomm Hawkeye V2 chipset as them inside our access points, and the free PoEWit app. You don't need any licensing fees or extra subscription fees or anything extra. It's all baked into the product. So like Vic said, we want to make it as simple and easy as possible. And we offer 50-point margins on all our products. You're not going to find PoEWit access points on Amazon. We're 1,000% for the dealer. We want you guys to be successful and make money and really just have the best quality product. And like Vic was saying, the WAP2 is compared to their R550. Again, we use the same chipset as Ruckus, and it's pretty straightforward. We want to make it super easy and profitable for you guys to sell access points. So, we have our 2x2 versus the 4x4 and the 8x8. Our thinking was, most smartphones and laptops are Wi-Fi 6 for the 2x2. Most Wi-Fi 6 for the 4x4 require 60 watts of PoE 802.3bt. Snap doesn't even have a switch that really does that. We have the switches, which I'll get into here shortly. But we wanted to offer the 2x2, which is more of where you could start, and then obviously the 8x8 is where you can have a ton of simultaneous clients and just really give you the maximum power that you would need either on a really large residential project or a really large commercial project. So one thing we do for our PoEWit dealers that's free of charge is we provide free heat maps for large installations. So if you have a project where you're like, I really need some help and additional design, this is a free service we provide for our dealers. So you would send the design to either myself or Mike, and we'd send over the form to you, and we would go over, where the access points, our access points would be the best place. So this would be what a heat map would look like if you received it from us. We go into thorough detail of, where you should place them, how much power you're going to need for each access point, and just things that you're going to need to know on this project to be successful with our access points. So like I said, again, this is a free service that we provide for PoEWit dealers. And another way that service is really at the heart of everything we do for the dealers. So real quick, I wanted to get into how you would power our access points. We do have the network switches that provide the power to power our access points. We have a 24 port and a 48 port network switch that pump out PoE plus, perpetual PoE. So when you reboot the port, it doesn't take a long time to reboot the access point. So the NS24 has a 370 watt PoE budget, and the NS48 has a 740 PoE budget. These have a Broadcom chipset. They're just heavy duty switches. We wanted, like I said in the beginning, we want to give our dealers or PoEWit dealers the maximum power and performance in all our devices. So these two network switches you would use to power the WAP2 and the WAP2E. And this is what it would look like on our free PoEWit app. So you can reboot the port, see the PoE consumption. You can name the port, see link up speeds, all that. So again, the WAP2 and the WAP2E you would use for the NS24 and NS48. And then I'll go over our 8-port switches. So our 8-port switches pump 90 watts per port. So these are 802.3bt switches. These are super powerful switches where our WAP2O and our WAP1 dealers have been using in combination with this switch. So all 8 ports right here pump PoE++. So a really powerful switch, 500 PoE power supply, and nothing like it out there. It's just we had a dealer out in Maryland that was doing some outdoor access points, and he connected 6 of our outdoor access points and then 2 of the indoor, all on this switch. So really, again, we have the powerful access points, and we have the network switches to make your guys' job successful. And I'll go over our last switch, the NS84B. It's a layer 2, 180 watt PoE power network switch. So all 4 of these ports pump 90 watts. So if you're using 4 of the WAP1s or 4 of the WAP2Os, this would be your entry level switch to use. So this has been a great switch as well for more of like the small projects where you don't need a ton of access points. So more of our entry level network switch that, like I said, all 4 ports pump out 90 watts, 802.3bt. again, just really a chart of what I talked about with the NS24 and NS48. Go over pricing real quick. Here's our MSRP for the NS24, NS48, NS84B, and NS8B. The NS24 is $1,025 dealer cost. The NS48 is $1,800 dealer cost. The NS84B is $375 dealer cost, and then the NS8B is $975 dealer cost. And then we do offer a power injector as well. So if you're just installing, let's just say, one outdoor access point, we do offer a power injector. It's under accessories on our dealer portal, or dealer store. And this pumps out 90 watts of PoE. A really great solution if you're just doing, a couple extra access points outside. And here are our part accessories. We do sell fiber modules as well. The power injector is $130 dealer cost, and the G1 is $56, and then the G10 is $48 dealer cost. And then since you guys are on this call, when you become a new dealer, this is we have a PoEWit partner program. So we do offer 30% off PoEWit dealer costs for one PoEWit demo order. So when you log into the store, you put in partner, all caps. The partner program is really for you guys to get products in your hand that you want to test out with PoEWit. Test them out, whether it's at your home or a job site or your showroom. You have 45 days to test out the product. If you love it, you keep it. If you don't love it, you can send it back to us and we'll refund your money. If you guys want to email me, joseph@poewit.com, I can send over additional details about the program. A lot of new PoEWit dealers this year have really taken advantage of this program and really got into our access points and just have skyrocketed after using the partner program. Shipping and warranty. So we ship out of Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Our general lead times are about 1 to 2 business days out of for pretty much all PoEWit orders. We offer a 2-year warranty on all our products. And we've planned ahead. We have stock for our dealers. Ruckus has been out of stock on certain products for a while. It's really, they're not really focused on the CEDIA industry, or really they're really more focused on the large commercial dealers and keeping stock for them. So for us, it's, we've planned ahead, and again, we're 1,000% focused on the CEDIA dealers and their success in the field. I'll let Giselle talk a little bit more about our social media because she handles all that. So Giselle, if you want to go over what we do on social media.
Sure. So first I wanted to mention that if you are a PoEWit dealer and you want to get access to all of our collateral, our images, product images, our data sheets, quick starts, company bio, all of our assets are available on the online tools page of the website. And I will put a link to that on the chat right now for everybody to have. As far as the social media goes, we are very social. We have an Instagram account, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter, where we post pretty much daily. In our Instagram and TikTok, you will see videos about what's the latest and greatest, videos and pictures of what's the latest and greatest on all of our solutions, any specials that we may have, installation videos. We also share videos and pictures sent to us by our dealers. And we also, of course, tag everybody so that you get to reshare on your own social media channels. On our YouTube page, you can find a lot of helpful videos for installations, how to install our products on the PoEWit app, a lot of descriptions, full descriptions of each of the solutions, how they interact with each other, and how you can even how to daisy chain some of our products. So there's a lot of helpful information in there. So feel free to check that out. And then we have our Facebook and our Twitter, where we also share, like on Instagram, our latest and greatest. You know, please follow, like, and share. And also, if you become a PoEWit dealer and you provide us with good quality videos or pictures of your installations, we will give you 10% off your next order. We love to share our dealers' content on our social media channels. So feel free to send all of that my way. You can send it to Giselle at PoEWit.com, and I'll put my email on the chat in a few minutes as well. And just to go back real quick to when Joey was talking about how to install our access points, I'm going to put another link on the chat right now, which has a great video with a quick step-by-step tutorial on how to install our access points.
Awesome. Thanks, Giselle. And yeah, Giselle does a really great job for us on social media. You know, we love sharing content and getting pictures and installs and everything from our PoEWit dealers. So we definitely encourage you to do that. And then lastly, you know, become a PoEWit authorized dealer. I'll have Giselle put the dealer link at the bottom. If you're not already a PoEWit dealer, the dealer application is super easy to fill out. If you just put on how you heard about us, you could just put the webinar, and you know, I'll take care of the application and you know, get you into the dealer portal, send MSRP and pricing and just some other important links to learn about the product, and you know, we can go from there. And that is it for our presentation. So we will open it up for Q&A. Let's see here, I'll stop the share. So yeah, we'll open it up for some Q&A. If you want to put it in the chat, or if you want to unmute, ask me to unmute you, or whatever, you know, we're here to answer your questions.
I have a question from a little bit earlier that maybe you can answer first. How good is are the PoE switches with non-PoE devices?
Yeah, so I commented on that. So it's a very good question, because back in the day, we had PoE switches on one side and non-PoE switches on the other. And then if you had non-PoE product, you would plug it into the non-PoE switch. Well, that whole thinking has gone out the window, and you know, you always want to get a PoE switch, okay? And what it comes down to is the PoE power supply, the budget. And that's like the biggest cost of a PoE switch. The bigger the budget, the more the cost of the switch. And so that's why we always try to offer the biggest power supply for our switches. And you know, throwing out the NS8B, this 8-port PoE switch, it's 90 watts per port, and we have a 500-watt power supply, which is really important, you know, for these new type of devices, especially our lighting, which requires pretty much, you know, 90 watts. Especially if you want to daisy chain lights, you know, that's really important. And also the new Wi-Fi 6 access points, like our WAP1 requires 40 watts of power. It puts out 12 spatial streams, and it has a lot of radio. So that's just kind of what it needs now to power devices. In fact, Snap AV, their first access point they released, their 4x4 actually needs 32 watts of power. Okay, so as you could tell, that's a little bit more than any 802.3 AT switch could provide. So it really demanding a higher PoE power budget, and you know, for a lot of installations, you're going to find that you need BT power, so that's either 60 watts or 90 watts, and that's what we try to do with our PoE switches. Is, you know, we try to provide that bigger power budget that you're going to need. And so again, the thinking again is it's, you know, the best thing to mix up, you know, non-PoE and PoE devices, and it doesn't make any difference what you plug it in. The standards now around PoE are so robust that, you know, if you plug in a non-PoE device, it knows not to inject power. There's a very sophisticated handshake now that all manufacturers pretty much play by the same rules. It's not like, back in the old days where, you accidentally plugged in that Samsung TV and all of a sudden it blew up, because it injected it with PoE. So, but yeah, I just want to throw in a plug about our switches and about our budgets. One thing I put in the chat is that, like Snap AV, for example, their 48 port only has a 370 watt power supply in it. So if you start doing the math around 48 ports, 370 watts, you can't really get much PoE budget out to, power. I don't even know what kind of devices that they were expecting you guys to power with that, because it's not enough. Maybe back in the day, IP phones, maybe you could go in and power 24 of them at 6 watts a piece, but most devices now require a bigger power budget. So I hope that answers it.
Awesome.
Okay. We have another question.
Mhm.
Not sure if I missed it, but is there anything on the roadmap for more devices?
John, can you elaborate more what you mean for more devices? Are you saying more access points are we going to release? A little puzzled by your question. We can go to the next question, Giselle. Is there
Okay.
another?
Do you have to use the app to configure the WAPs?
Yes, you do have to use our app to configure the access points. It's really easy, super easy, really straightforward. You get them on site, you discover them and configure them right there. So, like I said in the presentation, we want to make it really straightforward and easy to get on the app and just configure everything.
Right. Yeah, so around the app, what we're trying to do is really make it easy to configure these APs and to only expose the values that you really need. Back in the day with APs, there's a lot of variables in there that you may need to tweak, based on the situation. But so the APs are so mature now. A lot of the radio, you just want to leave it up to the firmware to make the best decisions. Very similar to a car these days. Like you very rarely see, manual, shifting cars. And I agree they're very fun to drive, but automatic transmission, especially with the dual clutch cars, they're so sophisticated, along with all the software around it that enables cars to drive. It's very hard to beat. So that's why we're going the app route, for you guys to set the SSIDs, the security, the main things you need, and just launch it and get out the door. So you don't need any, very hardcore IT guys on staff or whatnot. With all that said, there's been a few instances where there were certain devices that we needed a certain setting, and that's where we come in our support. And Mike, in those very, very rare instances, we essentially go into the cloud and look at the AP and change certain settings that you may need. But that's the advantage of going with PoEWit. We understand the devices that are out there, what other devices that you are installing, and we try to make sure we're 99% compatible with those devices and whatnot. So
Okay. Oh,
so
go ahead, sorry.
a couple more questions. So John wants to know on switches and APs. We're pretty much, we have the full line of APs out there today. So we have the WAP 2, which is at the price point is not quite as low as Ubiquity. But it's close. I mean, it's really close, and it's priced lower than Snap, and you're getting a much, much better chipset for it. So, and that all the way up to the WAP 1, which goes head to head with the R850, same chipset, stadium grade, which is the highest capacity APs that you could buy today. Okay, so in the AP line, we don't have any plans at CEDIA this year to release any more products. We are fulfilling our switch portfolio. You know, one thing you will see from us at CEDIA is a 24-port switch with a 900-watt power supply. Again, it's you know, the first of its kind out there. We're not going to go higher than 90 watts because you can start to do the math around a 15-amp circuit. You know, we're starting to max those circuits out to where you could install these products. But you know, we're starting to see, especially with our lighting that we're going to release at CEDIA, that you know, you're going to need 90 watts per port and bigger power supply. So we are going to release more switches around those lines. Also at CEDIA, it's not final yet, so I don't want to tell you what it is, but we're going to have some lower cost 8-port and 24-port PoE switches. And so around those switches, it's not going to be as layer 3-ish as our current lineup, but you know, a little bit less than that to get you know, the price points down of our switches. So those are the two aspects that you'll see. One thing with PoEWit, you know, we are not going to do any kind of, you know, small unmanaged, you know, switches. That's not in our roadmap today. So yeah, so hope that answers that.
Okay, we have our next question. How about the routers from Eric?
So around the routers, one philosophy that you know, that we totally took on, you know, after a lot of retrospect is you know, around routing. Okay, is you know, our packet routers were really good, but they were never up to par as say Fortinet, you know, that you could buy. And in fact, you know, if you look at the Gartner report for the last 8 years, I mean, Fortinet is always at the top, and it's really hard to beat Fortinet's technology and everything they do, even if you don't use UTMs. They're like the, you know, beyond Cadillac, beyond Rolls-Royce, if you could say that. It just doesn't go down, you know, their products. And so that's why we're offering them. And, you know, we're offering it as a service, you know, to you guys. You know, obviously, you know, the whole thing about the enterprise space is they pretty much give the hardware away for free. That's the way corporations like, because it's very hard to do a capital expenditure per se in a corporation. That's the way accounting works, right? But as far as the annual expenses of having that router and paying those annual fees, that's the way corporations work, right? Then they expense it on an annual basis. You know, whereas we know this industry works a little bit differently. You know, you got to get the hardware and whatnot. So what we try to do with the Fortinet is you know, give it to you guys at a fixed price so you guys can sell it to your customers. You know, we know that product's not going to go down, and you know, we know you're not going to have issues with that product, and you don't need to reboot it, but you will need support to probably get it up and running with that configuration, because you know, Fortinet is not user friendly. It's definitely user hostile. It's really hard to configure if you don't know what you're doing, and also do it weekend, you know, day in, day out. It's just a very hard product to configure, and you know, that's what, you know, we're here for, is to help you guys get it up and running. And you know, later on down the road, if you need to make some configuration changes or whatnot, you know, we'll definitely support you on that. And if there's any critical firmware releases, you know, we'll definitely help you with that to get it upgraded. And just to give you some perspective, I can't remember off the top of my head what Fortinet's, you know, what we sell it for, but like say, you know, the FortiGate 60, for example, you know, you could buy it on Amazon for like $600, right? But the expense contract could be close to $900 a year for that product if you want any firmware updates and whatnot. So what we try to do is offer to you at, you know, one price with our support, and support you with everything else that you got to pay annually for, you know, with the Fortinet. So
775.
Can I interject here?
Yes, 1 second, Mike. 775 dealer cost for the R4, and then the R10 $3,975. But yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, so the with the Fortinet, and part of the benefit that you get with the Fortinet from us and our R4 and R10 is they come pre-configured for 7 VLANs, the 7th VLAN being a guest VLAN, an SSL VPN that's already pre-configured, and that's client to server, not site to site. Site to site IPsec, obviously settings would have to match, so that is something that we would have to work with you on to get that configured if you absolutely need that. That's another benefit that you get with us is the support here with this. I have Fortinet experience for going on 10 years now, somewhere around there, configuring all the way back to their B series. So I've dealt with all types of different issues with Fortinet configuration and otherwise. So I'm very proficient in Fortinet. So any questions that you have about Fortinet and how to get it up and running, go ahead and let me know as well.
Thanks, Mike.
And one last comment about the the Fortinet. I mean, we will also take on special requests too. So we had one request from a customer from a dealer in South Florida. He had a certain customer that wanted, he's really paranoid about his internet connection going down. So he not only wanted dual WAN, but he wanted 3, redundancies. So so we sold them a Fortinet, and we did a custom configuration with them with Mike, going on site, planning it out. So they'll be successful delivering that. And that's the biggest advantage, with us. And with Fortinet, that if they have a 1 gig internet connection now, that they're going to get that with the Fortinet. And that's why we knew we had to do the router and offer it to you guys, because we heard too many horror stories of using the 2 other guys, manufacturers in this channel that doesn't keep up with technology. They have a 1 gig internet going through their modem with AT&T, and all of a sudden they put in that other company's router, and boom, it drops down to 600. So you won't look good in front of your customer doing that. And again, Fortinet, they do make the best product out there. And we also know that there are certain scenarios, especially through the South, where AT&T is very heavily invested. The internet connections go up to 2.5 gig and 5.0 gig. And we offer the Fortinet products that you'll be successful maintaining those speeds as you bring that product into the customer home. So
Awesome.
Okay, we have the next question is from Ivan. Will you offer rear ports on your switches?
not at this time. I mean, we don't have plans to do it for this CEDIA, but the following, we have heard it enough. So, we are, looking into it. We know, which is kind of ironic too, because, we started the whole trend in at Pack Edge. We made the switches with the rear ports, and we made it look very AV. We do know that there's some certain sacrifices that we have to do. Like, you can't fit as much because you're putting in the power supply along with all the ports in the back, especially when you get to that 48 port form factor, and also you throw in a really big power supply. So we are looking at that, along with our engineers, and for the next year's CEDIA, look for something from us.
Great. Next question is from Michael. Can you remotely manage the WAPs?
Yes, it's all through the app, where you could do all the key, configuration settings, whatnot, and the app will show you that it's down, and which it never is, by the way. But yeah, you can do everything through the app. The only thing you need right now today is, in order to first configure the app and the WAP together, you're going to need internet connection. So you're going to need internet connection, because that's the WAP. As soon as you plug it in, it goes straight to the cloud. and then the app then goes straight to the cloud, and that's where it's married in the cloud, where all the configuration happens. So you do all the setting in the app, pass it to the cloud, and the cloud then passes it to the WAP. And that's actually a really good point about the how we approach the new way of configuration. And I know the CDA industry is a little bit stuck. There hasn't been a really good refresh of the products that are out there, including all the controllers. But the overall trend in the enterprise for the last 10 years is for all devices to go to the cloud. And the reason being, with the whole invention of the cloud and devices, once you plug it in locally, all it knows how to do is go to the cloud is security, right? Because if you can't access this device locally, the chances of this device being hacked locally is 0. So if the only thing this device knows how to do is go to the cloud, then as long as your cloud is secure, right, you eliminate a lot of potential for your devices locally to be hacked. And so that's why we were fully bought into the app, the cloud. We saw that at PackEdge. For us to do a complete refresh of our products, it will be monumental. It's just better to start with a clean sheet of paper and just make all our devices go to the cloud and configure it to an app, and marry it in the cloud. And we all pretty much use either Google, Amazon, or Microsoft Cloud, and they do have the best security around it. So long as Google stays not hacked into at the cloud level, which would have to be some pretty sophisticated hacking going on, but you are pretty secure at the local level. So that's the way you should be thinking moving forward. And for this industry to move forward, all the other manufacturers, that's a challenge out there, is refresh all your devices so that everything happens in the cloud and not locally per se.
Great. Next question is from Alan. Can you speak to Wi-Fi calling?
Yeah, so let me start. And actually, Mike Jones could probably know a lot more than this. So with Wi-Fi calling, a key feature that all devices support is 802.11r. Okay, and that's IEEE standard around roaming from AP to AP. And back in the day, you needed a little bit of features on the AP side to get devices to roam from devices from AP to AP. But now fast forward 15 years until the standard came out, 802.11r have been refined many times, and all manufacturers speak the same language to a T. So for a client from Apple or Android, Samsung, whatnot, to follow that standard that's on the AP side and enable the roaming is pretty seamless. So there are some nuances to that. Maybe Mike could chime in here, but with and it has to do with the security with and WPA 2, which is a more longer standard that's been out there. 802.11r works great. So if you start going to WPA 3 and some of the newer security encryption standards, I know 802.11r has some bugs and some glitches, among different clients and whatnot. So it's all in our AP and our app. So all those things are baked in, and that's why we just make it easy. So there's a pop-up message. You can start to go to the WPA 3 standards. We do warn you, are you sure you want to go this route, because you may not have the perfect Wi-Fi calling experience. So
we have just 2 more questions. One is from Terrence. Can I pre-configure off-site and then add the customer info when on-site?
I'll take this one. So yes, you can. When using our app, however, there is one thing that you can't do. You can't pre-configure off-site and then take it onto a new site that's in a different time zone. That creates issues with the app. But as long as you're in the same time zone as the customer's house, you most certainly can. And the best way to go about that is to create the home in the app for the customer, and then add the devices home, even though that they're maybe in your office, in your staging area. The public IP and all those things will update when you do go to the customer site. Um, so, and then just to kind of circle back there to the Wi-Fi calling. Wi-Fi calling is you got to remember that you have to have a higher threshold of data rate to the actual AP. This is for all devices. So when you're doing FaceTime, you're gonna have a close to -60. That's why when you do get a heat map from us, you will see that we try to keep that distances between the APs to be around that -60, so it doesn't interrupt Wi-Fi calling. You get further past -60 dBm, then your phone is going to have sufficient data rate to stream, maybe on HBO Max on your phone, but Wi-Fi calling is going to fail. Because that's goes off a UDP, and that data rate needs to be higher for Wi-Fi calling FaceTime on Apple devices for that to work. So we do keep that in mind when we also do the heat map for that.
Right. And so that's a really key point that Mike brings up. So as I mentioned earlier, wireless access points, the whole technology has come a long ways. And the weakest link in all of this is undercovering your home. So I know a lot of you folks do some really massive homes, and sometimes you're dealing with very tough customers that are on tight budgets or whatnot, but you really have to saturate the home so you got sufficient overlap, especially with 5.0 and 6.0. And that's why 100% we recommend doing the heat map with us, and that's why we offer it for free. Sometimes we get inundated and it takes us a little bit longer, like a couple days or 3 days to turn it around. I mean, usually we do it in 24, but that's why it's so critical, because if you guys do it with us, it's on file with us, and then you put in our APs, and if there's an issue, which most likely there will not be, then we'll pull up that heat map, and we'll have a good layout of the property, and we know what we're dealing with and working with in terms of troubleshooting. So that's why we highly recommend it. We do the heat map with us, use our APs, and especially for your first one, if you guys want us to be on standby, let us know. We'll have certain techs reserved for you. But most importantly, been in your shoes. We want you guys to be confident, to go into your customer homes and ensure that you'll be successful, they'll be successful, they'll be happy. So that's kind of what we're all about, and that's why we developed this methodology.
Any more questions, Giselle?
Yes, sorry, I was on mute. Yes, one last question from Hanley. Any plans for PoE++ 48 port switch to power the Web 1?
Okay, I mean that is a monster of a switch, right? So if you start to do PoE++, the next step up from a 900-watt power supply, the 1800-watt power supply, right? So if you do the math around a 15-amp circuit and 120 volts, right? That's 1800. So that's just dedicated for that one PoE switch sitting in your rack. So that is kind of like pushing the limits of it. And I do get it at data centers, it's a whole different line. So not right now, fortunately. I mean, it's a good question. And we thought about it, and maybe there will be 3 or 4 years down the road, especially as PoE lighting takes off and you start to have a bigger need for it. You might need to redesign a home. Well, I might definitely see a day, right? I'm always a optimist that tries to look out what it'll be like, and I totally envision you guys, not the electricians, will be pulling a shitload of Cat6 cabling throughout the home, doing drop to drop to drop to drop, and then bring it all back in with 48 port, really big, PoE switches that are probably on 20 amp dedicated circuits in order to power, all the devices that, you need. And yeah, I'm totally looking forward to that day when everything will be over PoE. You'll have the curtains, the shades, even the TV sets. I'm talking about big suckers, right? 60 and plus, where you guys pull multiple cat cabling to that TV, so it could suck up your 300 watt power, and you don't need to worry about electrocution or anything, because it's all over DC. And someday there'll be some control boxes, hopefully by Crestron or Control 4, somebody like that, that will also be PoE based, refreshed, and boom, you drop it in, you plug in that one cat cabling, it goes right to the cloud, you configure it, and it gets sent down. So I'm an optimist. I'm hoping that will, the way the industry would look like 5 to 8 years down the road, and then it'll all be within your hand, right? Then you won't have to coordinate with electricians or anything like that. So that'll be really cool.
We do have one more question that just came in. Does the app allow you to easily configure VLANs?
Not yet. That is very close to being released. So if you're using our switches today, that will be added on to it. So yeah, that was one development effort that took us a little bit longer, but yeah, that will be a feature that will be added to our current product line. And if you do have our switches installed, then they'll be through a firmware update.
Great. Unless anybody has any other questions, I think that's it.
Awesome.
Any additional questions?
Really appreciate it.
Thanks everybody for being on the call. And if you have any additional questions, you can email me, Joseph at PoEWIT.com. So thanks for everybody for being on.
Thanks, everybody.